Hi, welcome to the Core Mining World Gold Forum webinar. Core is a North American gold developer and explorer. I'm Scott Treblecock, Chief Executive Officer. I'm going to walk you through three parts in this webinar. First, why I think you should own Core Mining equity. Second, how Core plans to convert $343 million in project NPV into equity value. We recently put out a PEA, our Imperial Gold project. It's fantastic. Come see why we're excited about that and how we're going to get that value into the very small market cap currently of Core today. Thirdly, Core also has a plethora of exploration opportunities. We have 4.9 million ounces of gold in the ground in a small company, only 30 million Canadian market cap. Come see more about how we're going to deliver value for those ounces into the share price. We're doing work. We're out there, we're exploring, we're developing, we're excited. Come learn more about Core Mining. If any of this tweaks your interest, please book a meeting. We'll love to see you at the World Gold Forum or reach out to us. We can meet any way you want through our normal investor relation lines. Core Mining, TSX Venture, KORE, or the OTCQB, KOREF. Okay. Core, at its heart, has 4.9 million ounces of gold resources in the ground. Firmly believe ounces in the ground are a real asset. The value of those assets currently is very low, and we're excited to be doing work in the company to advance those assets, prove to the market the quality and quantity of those assets can improve, and delivering value to shareholders on a per share basis. At the FG Gold Project in British Columbia, Canada, a safe and stable jurisdiction, we've got 1 million ounces where we're currently drilling. In California, we've got two projects, 1.7 million ounces at Long Valley, 2.2 million ounces at Imperial. Long Valley we're exploring, Imperial we're developing, and we're really excited to have our projects in North America in safe and stable jurisdictions and advancing and adding value to shareholders. We recently completed a preliminary economic assessment at the Imperial project. You're going to hear me talk today about two paths for value creation at Core. At the very front, I said Core is an explorer and a developer, and we are pursuing value creation on both those paths. The development path is very clearly through Imperial. Imperial is an advanced project, and right after the delivery of this PEA, we're working on the documentation to move that project into permitting to become a mine, because look at these fantastic numbers. We'll go into more about Imperial in the second part of this webinar, so listen to that if you'd like to see more, but the numbers speak for themselves. It's a great project with blue sky upside. Also, Core has a vast array of exploration opportunities across the portfolio. We've got opportunity to FG Gold to improve grade, make new discoveries. They're all 100% owned projects. They're large land packages that are fully in control of what we're looking for. At Long Valley, we're looking to increase the amount of resources there, so grow the ounces in the ground and make new discoveries underneath that deposit in untested sulfide mineralization. And at the Imperial project, where we've got the PEA on the current resource, we've got an entire 28-kilometer exploration trend under our control that we're exploring for new discoveries, and we're also looking for some great resource expansion opportunities near the current project. Super excited. Working these assets will bring value to Core shareholders and deliver some of the resource value in the ground to shareholders. Currently, Core appears to be highly undervalued. We're trading at a 0.05 PNAV to the base PEA value of the Imperial project with zero value for exploration. Part of that is Core is a new company in the equity markets. I joined the company 9 months ago. We really only been marketing the company for about 8 since the Denver Gold Forum was really the kickoff for the company. We just got boots on the ground on the exploration projects in 2019, and we're starting to see the fruit of that labor deliver news flow into the company and excitement in the capital markets. Core is currently a small company. We've had a recent price appreciation on the back of the PEA and the gold price moving, so you do see leverage to the gold price. We're currently about a 30 million market cap. The board and management are aligned with shareholders. As a new equity, board and management still own 50% of the equity. We are aligned with you, the shareholder, for per share value appreciation of this great assets we have in the company. Don't listen to me, however. I think listen to our strategic shareholders. We've got 2 strategic shareholders which have invested on very different investment theses, and they're aligned with that strategy I talked about earlier. Macquarie Bank made a very conservative institution. This is the bank, not the bank's clients, invested $4 million in the company. After 6 months of due diligence on the Imperial project, they bought a right to finance, they bought a royalty, and they bought some equity in Core. They believe Imperial will be a mine. And that's very important as validation to the quality of that PEA. On the other hand, we have Eric Sprott, who looked at the company while he was making his investments in the juniors, over the last few quarters. And he said, wow, how can I get exposure to gold that when he invested was about $3 US an ounce in the ground? He believes in the leverage of ounces in the ground to a rising gold price. As equity markets improve, mid-tier companies and large companies will look for growth. They'll go down to the juniors. Capital flow will turn to the juniors. M&A will kick up. And value in the ground for these types of assets should go way up. And that's the kind of returns Eric's looking for, and that huge leverage to the gold price. So who's in this company? Myself, I'm Scott Treblecock. I'm a process engineer. I'm Canadian. My last company was Nevsun Resources. I worked hard for 9 years there, eventually delivering a $1.8 billion takeout of the company. Executive Chairman James Hines heads our exploration efforts. He's a Canadian geo and founder of the company and largest shareholder, and he's active in the company running exploration for us today. Adrian Rothwell is the second largest shareholder. He's another founder of the company, and the two of those gentlemen bought the assets of Core as a private entity and then took over a Vancouver listed company to go public in late 2018. I think most importantly, if you want to learn more about the team, book a meeting, come talk to us. But I would just like to talk briefly about Mark Leduc. I brought in Mark in about September after the Denver Gold Forum of this last year. Mark's a Canadian geo and master's in mining engineer. He's a lifetime heap leach expert. He's studied, built, and operated heap leach gold mines for his entire career. He's been involved in junior companies. He's got the right attitude. But most important, he was formerly the COO of Castle Mountain, working for Richard Wark in California. He knows how the California system works. He's experienced. He's an expert in the type of mining we have in Imperial. He's the guy to take this project into production. So we got the team in place to deliver the value to Core shareholders. COVID-19 has not yet had a major impact on Core. We have closed our headquarters office and are practicing social distancing and other safety precautions for our staff. Safety is most important. However, we have been able to advance the types of things we are working on. We delivered the PEA at Imperial. We're currently working the documentation to start permitting of Imperial in the middle of the year. That's called the Plan of Operations. We're out drilling, so we got a drill rig up at the Fraser Gold Project. That news is coming out in the next couple of weeks. The first holes are in the lab. We're excited about that. We'll talk about that a bit more in the exploration section. We've completed geophysics on the land package around Imperial, the Mesquite to Picacho district. We're super excited to see that coming out. So Core has near-term news flow and catalysts coming out about the company, where hopefully we're going to be one of the bright lights in the market because we've not had to turn down or miss any deliverables in the company so far. So looping back and closing out why I think you should invest in Core Mining. Well, primarily Core has a portfolio of gold assets, so we don't have to wait for a permit or something on one project. We will be working across the portfolio to keep the news flow coming to the market and to keep adding value to that 4.9 million ounces in the ground. We've got that great Imperial PEA. Listen more to part 2 of this webinar to understand why we think this project is deliverable at these numbers. Mark Leduc is a credible guy. He believes this project can be built for the cost numbers we used in that study. Come learn more in the second section. We've also got the exploration opportunities. That'll be part 3 of this webinar. Learn about how we're going to deliver tons of value with the drill bit. Insiders are aligned with you, the shareholder, as are our strategic shareholders, to deliver per share value appreciation. Very important for a small company to be diligent with use of its capital. We have experience in both the board and management for exploring and developing gold assets. And we believe we've got the strategy to deliver value catalysts to increase the value of Core. We're super excited. Core is listed in the Toronto Stock Exchange, KORE, or on the OTCQB at KOREF. We're going to go into a little bit on Imperial now in part 2 of this webinar. Look forward to seeing you hopefully at the World Gold Forum. Welcome to part 2, the World Gold Forum webinar by Core Mining, the Imperial Gold Project PEA. Most important thing about any mining project, my view, location, location, location. Imperial Project is located in Imperial County, an experienced mining jurisdiction. The Mesquite Gold Mine has been operating since the 1980s. It was built by Goldfields, operated by Newmont, and is currently owned and operated by Equinox, Ross Beaty's gold company. Important to note that the original Equinox, Ross Beaty's company, also in the 1990s, mined the American Girl Mine, which is just south of our project in Imperial County. Imperial itself was owned by Glamis Gold back in that same time frame. Glamis was operating a mine called Picacho. All of these projects in Imperial County. So great miners cut their teeth mining in Imperial County. Today, the county currently has a bureaucracy that's experienced with mine regulation, with mine inspection. They, most importantly, the U.S. Gypsum Mine and Mesquite Gold are both run by Imperial County. And it's important because Imperial County will ultimately approve the reclamation plan for the Imperial Project, because the Imperial Project is on federal land. So ultimately, our primary permitting organization is the Bureau of Land Management, a federal agency, but California laws apply to the county. So you'll hear that a lot as we go through how we're going to get this project permitted. We're dealing with Imperial County. We're going to keep it local in Imperial County. Imperial County has a high rate of unemployment. It's primarily an agricultural county, a lot of cattle, farming, mostly on water taken out of the diversion channels out of the Colorado River. Loves high-skilled jobs. When Mesquite puts up job opportunities, they get a whole bunch of applicants because they're full benefit, high-paying jobs. About 16% unemployment in Imperial County, one of the poorest counties in California. We believe they're supportive of economic development. Great place to have a gold mining project. The deposit itself is a gold deposit drilled out by Glamis in the 1990s. Glamis unfortunately tried to permit the project during the Clinton administration when there was a big push in California to regulate activity and development in the deserts. It wasn't just mining. They ultimately became the poster child for that movement. That movement over the last 20 years has been very successful, layering a lot of great environmental acts and conservation legislation over the deserts in California. We don't believe that any of those legislations will impact our project. In fact, they don't actually go over our land in any way. And that leaves the project one of the few places in California open to development, which means, back to the original message, location, location, locations. This is a location you can permit a mine in California. And that is something that you can do because there have been multiple gold projects, Sutter, Golden Queen, and Equinox, that have gotten things permitted and done. And most importantly, Equinox Gold, Ross Beaty's company, is advancing the Castle Mountain project in Central California. So can get a place done. Imperial is a rare, simple, 100% oxide deposit, which makes it simple metallurgy. Our project team that did the PEA is led by Mark Leduc. Talked about him in the intro. He used a tight group of engineers, largely based in Denver, that he's used for a long time on multiple projects. You know, it's most important when you have engineers not to hire the best firm, but to make sure you get good people that you can trust and work with. We at the board iterated multiple versions of the mine plan. We did several trade-off studies. We looked at crushing versus run of mine. We looked at a high pre-strip and a low pre-strip option. We looked at contractor versus owner mining. We looked at a whole bunch of options for backfilling, a very important part of this project we'll talk about a bit later. The outcome was we chose at Core, because we're a small company, we chose the low capital route. There was higher NPV models, particularly on the higher pre-strip model, to bring forward grade, but we wanted the lowest CapEx hurdle we can as a small company to get into production. We ended up with a very low, literally almost zero pre-strip, and an ultimate low strip ratio for the life of mine. We chose run of mine, keep it simple, no crushing, takes away the capital and makes it more flexible on the ground for operating the mine. And we did choose an owner-operated mine fleet. Gives you better NPV, but you do have to pay up front for your mine fleet, and that is built into our operating costs. The results were great. $343 million NAV at $1,450 gold. The other numbers speak for themselves. And we've got some great resource opportunities we'll talk about in part 3 to show how we can make that even better. Now, I'm going to go through a bunch of slides here on the PEA quite quickly. The benefit of being on a video here is you can stop, look at the content of the slides more closely, and then restart my talk. So I am going to go quite quickly through these slides. The project ranks well. These are the US single asset peer owned development projects in the US that mid-tier miners would look to buy in the next cycle for growth. I think our project stacks up very well on both ounces per year at 146,000 and life of mine ounces at 1.2 million. Our project, the reason it can be low capital and low cost is simplicity drives low cost and reduced risk. And that's very important for actually delivering economics in a mining project. We have no significant pre-strip. Most of our waste is actually a compacted alluvium requiring reduced blasting costs. Grade control is very simple in this project. We have a low, flat, continuous ore zone. It's not a nuggety deposit. We're doing a run of mine with no crushing. We have quick leach kinetics to get into a gold production quickly. And I think also importantly, we're 9 miles from an operating mine called Mesquite. Mesquite has very similar operating characteristics. It's a run of mine, cyanide using gold heap leach project with similar amounts of tons moves per annum. We're using the exact same size mining trucks, so we know exactly how much it's going to cost to operate this mine. Other thing about Imperial, you can see some nice pictures here, is it's got very simple infrastructure. You can see the power line we have, that actually runs right over the southern part of the claims. We've got paved roads running right up to within a couple miles, and there's a flat access. We've got a water well, plus monitoring wells drilled and pump tested by Glamis. We've opened up those wells, sounded them, the water's still there. Mesquite is operated off the same aquifer for 25 years with no problem. So despite being in the desert, water's not a problem. We've got easy, flat road access to the property, power, and access to a great labor force in Imperial County and out of Yuma, Arizona. The Mesquite employees drive right by the project on this paved road you see on the side here to go to work. It'll be great in the future for them to come and work at Imperial. Low initial capex, we're looking at $142 million to go into production. I won't go through the numbers, but that comes back to that simplicity we talked about earlier. This gives the project one of the lowest capital intensities in the sector, and that's just driven by the simplicity. 142 million should be very achievable for Core. And don't forget, we have Macquarie backing the company, who is an investment, a lending bank that's looking to fund development of this project. Typically, you'd see a project like this with 50, 60, 70% debt equity. It makes the capital hurdle for Core very low. We could also lease trucks or bring in a contractor in the early days to even more reduce the capital. So we've got a lot of opportunities because of the location of this project. Operating costs, you can see here, I've put them side by side to Mesquite. Pause here if you want. We believe these are actual numbers from Mesquite. Our costs are higher because we're a slightly lower, smaller mine, but only by about 25% on the tons per year. We can deliver these costs. The mine plan itself is very simple, a couple open pits, which gives us an opportunity to do some backfilling and short hauls to keep the cost down. But I think most importantly, there's a very strict reclamation law in California that requires you to backfill open pit mines. And you can see as you go from pre-production through year 3 to the end of the mine life, we're actually mining and backfilling a lot of the pits as we go along the way. We will be returning the land to plus 25 feet of original topography and reestablishing the desert washes, which are the dry riverbeds through the region. It'll look like, when this project is reclaimed, almost like we were never there, the way it's completed. At the end of the mine life, we have 95 million tons of clean alluvium, sand and gravel that will be used as a stockpile for regional aggregate use. We haven't claimed any economic impact in the PEA for that, but that's something that we want to leave behind for the benefit of the local community to build out regional infrastructure. But otherwise, we're fully complying with California's backfill law, and that's very important because over the last 30 years, California has put in some of the most stringent laws in the market, and we're living up to those laws, which should make the project very defensible when we talk to environmental groups and go through the permitting process with local stakeholders. Sustaining and reclamation cost, I think the most important thing here to look at is the $144 million it'll cost to backfill and close the mine at the end of the mine life. This was what caused Glamis to ultimately not develop this project. So Glamis took this project through permitting. Unfortunately for them, when the backfill law came in, gold was $300 an ounce, and backfilling rendered the project economic. When you look at 12, 1300, 1450, whatever price you want to use, you can afford the $120 an ounce to backfill and reclaim this project to the standards required in California. When you look at all that put together, the all-in sustaining cost of the project estimated at $852 per ounce, somewhere in the middle of the cost curve. Obviously, in my view, something should be a mine if half the production of gold in the world is at a higher cost than you're planning to produce. So Imperial is a project that we believe strongly should be a mine. So next steps for the project is to move into permitting. In California, there is a well-defined process for how you permit a project on federal land. Key to that is the county of Imperial, which we talked about at the beginning. The county applies California law primarily to reclamation, and the BLM takes you through a NEPA, which is the National Environmental Approval process on their end to permit you to operate on their land. So why do we think it's a good time to permit Imperial today? Number one, gold price. It's recovered where we can afford to backfill and live to the high stringent standards in California. We've got mature processes for processing. We've seen several cyanide using mines go ahead. In the last several years, we've seen construction and now into operation for the Golden Queen mine. Castle Mountain is being built by Equinox up in Central California, up in San Bernardino. We're right beside the Mesquite mine in what we believe is a friendly county for mining. We think we can get through the environmental process relatively rapidly. We also have the benefit of having all of Glamis' great work with the Bureau of Land Management on file. They took the project through a feasibility process, through a full EIS, EIR, biological, archaeological, and other studies are all still on file with the BLM. We have to go back, update those for backfilling, restart that permitting process. And we believe because we're restarting the historic permitting process, that allow us to proceed more quickly through permitting. Going through that process will deliver this great value we see in the PEA into Core's equity price. We hope you as a shareholder would like to come along, or as a potential shareholder would like to invest to participate in those types of returns that we can generate. I'll stop there on Imperial. The next section will talk about exploration opportunities, and I'm really excited to tell you more about that in a sec. Part 3, exploration opportunities at Core Mining. First and foremost on the list of opportunities for Core Mining is the district scale potential of the Mesquite-Picacho district around our Imperial project. Core went out and staked a 28-kilometer trend from the Mesquite mine, you can see up in the left side of this map, to the Picacho, now closed mine, on the right side of this map. Picacho was operated by Glamis back in the 90s, who was also doing the original work on the Imperial project. And Mesquite was built 25 years ago by Goldfields. And back in those days, this entire trend in this region was all staked up by Newmont, Goldfields, Glamis, and it was a real mining jurisdiction. Core was able to come and stake these claims, 28 kilometers of trend that hosts Mesquite, Imperial, and Picacho. Those three deposits, collectively almost 13 ounces in the ground, were all discovered by outcrop. The rest of this trend that we've claimed on the new claims and the hatching on this map are undercover, and we're using geophysics and modern exploration to look under that cover to make new discoveries and reinvigorate the Mesquite-Picacho mining trend in Imperial County. We've also, nearer to the Imperial project, got growth opportunities for the resource itself that's subject to the preliminary economic assessment we discussed in part 2. It's open undercover on strike. It's open down plunge, and we believe it's also open on a down drop block in between the east and west pits. Those are all opportunities we're going to test before we go too far with the mine plan to make sure that we configure our waste dumps to not sterilize that opportunity. But most importantly, when we went in to do the geophysics to do the drill targeting, we discovered this large, continuous resistivity anomaly and chargeability anomaly underneath the deposit, underneath the depth of any drilling, which is that conglomerate unit which terminated historic drilling. And we're really excited to go out and test that because it could be the sulfide roots of this great oxide system. It could be an additional oxide zone because Imperial was thrust up on top of some younger conglomerate rocks. That hasn't been explained where it came from. So perhaps we found more ounces. We got to get out there and test that. We'll probably run some core hills through the main mineralization. Luckily, it's right underneath, down into that, and see if we can test that early in our drilling. And we're currently out permitting drilling under a notice of intent with the BLM, our regulator at the Imperial Project. So over to Long Valley, we haven't talked about much on this presentation yet. Long Valley was advanced and drilled by Royal Gold in the 1990s. They drilled only shallow RC holes looking for oxide. They were able to define 1.7 million ounces, about 1 million ounces of that oxide. They also defined some transition material, but most importantly, a lot of their holes terminated in the root sulfides of this deposit. However, they weren't interested in exploring for that. We have a very shallow, large oxide gold deposit to start our exploration work. When you look at the theoretical structure of an epithermal gold deposit, it's oxide on top where the sulfide mineralization is exposed to air and the water table, and it oxidizes. Underneath that, you have the potential to find higher grade, what's called boiling zone, or feeder structures with higher grades that's untested in Imperial. So we've gone out and used geophysics to target some drilling to try and find some of those higher grades and add an underground component to this great shallow oxide deposit. And the geophysics was very good at defining both oxide and sulfide targets. And we're currently out permitting some drill pads to go start testing step outs to increase the quantity of resources in oxide and make a new discovery in the sulfides on this great project. Moving up to British Columbia, the Fraser Gold Project. We currently have a drill program underway. We've got a large 100% owned land package here with about 1 million ounces drilled by operators in the 80s and 90s. It's a large horseshoe shape you can see in the orange and red on the right, with only the red being explored for the current resource. So this is exciting because it's a large rock group that extends at depth. It comes up on the other side of this section, as you can see, but it's only ever been explored in that little gray triangle on this little rectangle. And as you can see from this cross section, looking even closer, the rock group that plunges into the side of that hill has only ever been drilled across the bedding of the deposit at very shallow depths of the surface. Core is going out, reorienting the drilling down the rock group, trying to connect higher grade structures and components of that deposit to generate a higher grade opportunity, structurally controlled, looking at getting high core recoveries and really defining what this deposit is all about. So we're increasing the quality of those ounces by increasing the grade and hopefully extending that at depth to open up a whole new exploration opportunity on this project. Drill is turning and first core is actually at the lab, and we're expecting some results in the near term. So bringing all that back into one place, if you want to learn more, book a meeting at the World Gold Forum. We'd love to tell you more about these great exploration projects and talk more about the Imperial Development Project. Core has a lot of activity going on. COVID-19 has not had a large impact because we were working on a PEA. We were able to keep the engineers doing social distancing and still complete their work. They similarly have now moved their attention to delivering the plant operations to start permitting Imperial. We've got the geophysics that's being analyzed. We expect a news release on that in the coming weeks to target drilling out in that great Mesquite to Picacho district. Then we'll go out and permit drilling. All of that can be done in the face of COVID-19. We are also permitting drilling at the Long Valley project to try and do those step outs, expand the oxides and test for a new discovery in the sulfides. At FG Gold, the drill is turning. Assays for the first few holes are in the labs, and we're excited to see those results coming out also in the coming weeks and months here. We'd love to follow that up with more work. We've got a lot of work planned for the back half of the year, and we're really excited to be working hard here at Core to deliver shareholder value to either a prospective investor or to current investors. We'd love to talk to you more. Please visit us at coremining.com. We trade on the TSX Venture at KORE, on the OTCQB for US investors at KOREF. Throughout this presentation, I have made a lot of forward-looking statements. I'd like you to stay tuned afterwards, read our disclaimers on forward-looking information. Please, before you make any investment, go review all of our website, review our public disclosures, and before making any investment. Thank you for listening. I'm Scott Treblecock, CEO of Core Mining. Hope to see you at the World Gold Forum.